Chapter 237. Yang Ming naturally knew the content of Sun Jie's text message. Even if he didn't use his telescopic vision, he could still see it clearly. It was because he saw that Sun Jie's people had succeeded. Sun Jie raised her head and looked at Yang Ming. She found that he was also looking at her, so she nodded slightly to him and tilted her mouth toward the door. Yang Ming nodded knowingly. Yang Li, the person who sent me the money, is here. I will go out. Sun Jie said as she stood up. I will go out and take a look. It should be a big bag with so much money. Yang Ming pretended to help and stood up. I will help you to take a look. Yang Dehai saw Yang Ming stand up and wanted to help. Yang Ming couldn't let him go, so he quickly said, Dad, you sit here. If the kidnapper calls again, you can take care of him. That's right. Then you should be careful. Yang Dehai nodded. Right, what should I say when the kidnapper calls? Yang Li didn't suspect anything else. She was just worried about the kidnapper. Just say that the money is ready. Ask him where to meet. Sun Jie instructed. Okay. Yang Li nodded. Yang Ming followed Sun Jie and walked quickly to the door. As they walked, Sun Jie whispered, It's done. I know. Yang Ming nodded. You know? Sun Jie asked. I saw you smile when you received the text message. Yang Ming naturally couldn't say that he saw it himself. Outside the door, Sun Jie looked around. Finally, her eyes locked on a blue Buick business car with a Donghai license plate. That's my people's car. Yang Ming already knew this, but he couldn't reveal it. He came to the business car with Sun Jie. To be on the safe side, Yang Ming looked around again and deliberately expanded the scope of his vision. It seemed that this group of kidnappers was not the professional kind. Only the one who was caught was in charge of surveillance. After getting on the MPV, Yang Ming saw that the back seat of the car had been completely dismantled. Because of the bright reflective film on the outside, it was impossible to see the situation inside. The peaked cap guy was now tied up and thrown there. A bearded man in black sitting by the door nodded to Sun Jie. Mississippi, did you ask him anything? Asked Sun Jie. Eldest miss didn't give any orders, so I haven't asked yet. The bearded man shook his head. Who asked you to come? Yang Ming got on the car and sat in the back seat. He looked at the peaked cap man and asked. Humph. The peaked cap man snorted and said, Let me go quickly. If Brother Bear can't contact me later, he will kill the hostage. Who is Brother Xiong? Yang Ming secretly cursed in his heart. This person was simply confessing without being pressed. There was something wrong with his IQ. How do you know Brother Bear? The peaked cap man was shocked and opened his mouth in surprise. Yang Ming was dumbfounded after hearing it. He was completely defeated by this guy. He really didn't know what the leader of the kidnappers, Brother Bear, was thinking. He sent such an idiot to be an investigator. Even Sun Jie and the bearded man couldn't help but laugh out loud. You told me yourself. Yang Ming shook his head and said. Myself? The peaked cap man apparently didn't realize that he had just spilled the beans. Why did you kidnap Yang Dashan? Yang Ming didn't continue to entangle with him on this issue. Do you think I will tell you? Asked the peaked cap man. Yang Ming was happy in his heart. Listening to this guy's words, it was obvious that he said, Do you think I will tell you? Instead of I don't know. The difference was huge. The first was that I knew but I didn't say. The second was that I might know but I might not know. Now that I know he knows, then it's easy to handle. Yang Ming turned to Sun Jie and said, Let him talk. I think your people should have a way, right? Sun Jie nodded. Her people were retired special forces or mercenaries. They were very good at interrogating confessions. So she ordered, Let him talk. No problem. The bearded man nodded. Yang Ming didn't want Sun Jie to see a bloody scene, so he said, Let's go down and wait for a while. Why? Are you afraid to see a bloody scene? After getting out of the car, Sun Jie teased Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't speak, but he took out a cigarette from his pocket. He reached out to open the front door of the car, took out the cigarette lighter and lit the cigarette. He turned a deaf ear to the howling in the car. After taking a deep breath, Yang Ming exhaled a mouthful of smoke and then smiled at Sun Jie. Do you think I will be afraid? Sun Jie had seen the video of Yang Ming beating up President Yun's driver, Liu Shaoxing. She knew that Yang Ming was a serious violent person. He was definitely not afraid of blood. The reason why she said that was completely a joke. Yang Ming leaned on the car like a ruffian. Anyway, this was a dead end. He was not afraid that his parents would see. As for Sunjia, he didn't have to deliberately show anything in front of her. 10 minutes later, the bearded man opened the door. "How is it?" Sunjia asked quickly. "This kid is very tough. He won't say anything even if I beat him." The bearded man sighed and shook his head. Yang Ming had long expected this result. Although this peaked cap guy was very stupid, he was very unreasonable. He was a straightforward person. It wasn't so easy to make him yield. Moreover, it was estimated that the boss named Brother Bear was also a ruthless character. If this peaked cap guy spilled anything, there wouldn't be a good outcome when they went back. "I will go and see." Yang Ming shook his head and got into the car. However, the bearded man obviously showed a hint of disdain. He was a retired Vietnamese mercenary and there was no way to make this guy talk. He didn't believe that Yang Ming had any other way. The bearded man had almost used the interrogation method on the battlefield, such as Chang'e flying to the moon helicopters and so on. He even used his own unique skill, trip to the moon with a whistle. This guy was stubbornly saying that he didn't want to say anything. "If you have the guts, you can kill me." However, he also knew that now he was working for the Sun family and Yang Ming was a friend of the Mississippi. Some things could only be thought about and not said. Yang Ming couldn't see the suspicious look on his face, but he didn't care. He got into the car and saw the peaked cap guy lying on the ground with blood on his face. "I won't say anything." When the peaked cap guy saw that another person came over, he immediately glared at Yang Ming. "Was this still up to you?" Yang Ming glanced at the peaked cap man with a gloomy look. As an assassin, it was necessary to learn some special methods of interrogation. In many cases, before killing a person, it was necessary to ask some things from his mouth. Therefore, Fang Tian also taught Yang Ming a lot of interrogation methods. These methods were different from the public methods of the special forces. The methods of the bearded man were purely through some violent means to destroy the body of others. Yang Ming learned a lot of stimulation of some acupuncture points to reach the point of making people wish they were dead. Yang Ming walked over and pressed on one of the acupuncture points on the peaked cap guy's body. Suddenly, an indescribable feeling of numbness spread throughout the peaked cap guy's body. It was as if tens of thousands of ants were crawling on his body. It made the peaked cap guy have a feeling of rolling back and forth. It was just that his hands and feet were tied behind him and fixed to the back door of the car, making him unable to move. However, that mournful cry made Yang Ming feel a chill. This was the first time that he used the methods learned from Fang Tian on a real person, but Yang Ming didn't doubt the credibility of these methods. These were Fang Tian's unique skills. Although there weren't many people who knew it, it had been tested by the king of assassins for generations. "You killed me, right?" The peaked cap guy was so uncomfortable that he couldn't even speak clearly, but his backbone was still very strong. Even the bearded man who was watching at the side couldn't help but be stunned. Yang Ming didn't do anything. This peaked cap guy actually screamed more miserably than when he was played with the whistling trip to the moon. Looking at the situation, Yang Ming's methods were much more powerful than his own. It was also at this time that the bearded man really admired Yang Ming. This is an expert. With just a few gentle moves, this person already couldn't stand it. However, Sunjia was very surprised. She couldn't understand how Yang Ming actually had such a move. However, in the current situation, it wasn't suitable to ask. The peaked cap guy's face became more and more ugly. Yang Ming also knew that pressing his acupuncture points wasn't fatal, but if it was too long it would be life-threatening. Isn't this guy's mouth a bit too tight? Why isn't he saying anything? Suddenly Yang Ming heard the voice of the peaked cap guy. But the peaked cap guy didn't speak. Chapter 238. No, it's too uncomfortable. I can't stand it. Why don't I tell him the truth? Oh, I can't say it. If I say it, not only Brother Xiong won't let me go, but Brother Do will also kill me. Yang Ming was a bit puzzled. Why is my ability to see through other people's thoughts only useful in some critical moments? Yang Ming was very sure that he didn't do anything other than pressing the peaked cap man's acupuncture point. Could this be the legendary outburst of luck? God is helping me at a critical moment? However, Yang Ming was just thinking about it. This guess wasn't very realistic. I can see other people's thoughts at a critical moment, which means that I have this ability. Yang Ming didn't think that this ability was defective. He felt that he didn't understand how to use it. If he mastered the essentials, he could use it skillfully. Since he already knew who sent the peaked cap man, Yang Ming wasn't going to continue to entangle with him on this issue. Yang Ming was ready to ask the next question directly. If my ability is useful, even if he doesn't say it, Yang Ming will get everything he wants. Yes, when a person answers other people's questions, even if he deliberately wants to answer wrong or doesn't want to answer, the correct answer to this question will inevitably flash in his mind. This is a human instinct. Almost no one can escape this subconscious instinct. Where did you hide Yang Dashan? Yang Ming continued to ask, why do you want to kidnap him? When Yang Ming heard him say Brother Da, his heart was moved. Songjiang is such a big place. How many Brother Da can there be? It is very likely to be that guy Yu Xiangda. However, Yu Xiangda is now in a fierce battle with Bao Sanli. How can he have the leisure to come out and play a kidnapping? Could it be that the casualties are too high and he is short of money? And this is possible. The fight between the underworld also needs money. Without money, who will fight for you? Besides, doesn't the wounded need money for medical treatment? Doesn't the death pension need money? Even if these can be delayed, you can't not have weapons for fighting, right? Which one doesn't need money to buy swords, spears and sticks? Is it blown down by the wind? When it comes to Brother Da, Yang Ming suddenly had a feeling that this matter wasn't as simple as kidnapping. Could it be that this snobbish uncle of his had connections with the people of the underworld? Of course, I can't tell you where he is hidden. But now my body is really uncomfortable. Why don't I just tell him a place first? Anyway, it will take time for him to confirm it. He is hidden in a cave in West Star Mountain, said the peaked cap man's name. In fact, he is in a straw shed near his battlefield, and... Yang Ming smiled slightly and did not refute. He continued to ask, why do you want to catch him? Get some money to spend. That was the real purpose, but the peaked cap man didn't tell the whole story. Fuck. This kid is not eye-catching. He actually went to support Bao Sanli. Brother Da naturally has to warn him and get some money to spend. However, Yang Ming already knew the outline of the matter. I don't know why my uncle actually has a relationship with Bao Sanli. Yu Xiangda was dissatisfied with his uncle's approach, so he did these things. It seems that I didn't guess wrong. It really has something to do with Yu Xiangda. In this case, Yang Ming wasn't in a hurry. It seems that Yu Xiangda is doing this for nothing more than money. Another reason is to warn my uncle not to support Bao Sanli. It seems that my uncle won't be in any danger. As long as the ransom is paid on time, he will be safe. Instead, Sun Jie and I are doing something unnecessary. But since it has been done, I can only do it to the end. Otherwise, if I put this peaked cap man back, he will definitely say what happened today. In this way, it will inevitably involve Sun Jie and me. I'm not afraid. If Yu Xiangda pisses me off, I can just kill him directly. Yang Ming believed that with what I have learned now, I can do things flawlessly. I'm also the disciple of the King of Assassins. Fang Tian was the world's #1 ruthless person. But what about Sun Jie? Although Yang Ming knew that Sun Jie's family background was definitely not simple, it could be seen that the power of Sun Jie's family must be focused on the provincial capital, Donghai City. This could be seen from the license plates of these two Buick minivans. In Songjiang City, Sun Jie was a girl. If she was involved in the grievances between the two gangs, it wasn't a good thing. Thinking of this, Yang Ming decided to give Bao Sanli a big gift. It would also make the war between him and Yu Xiangda more vigorous. What do you want to say to me? Yang Ming deliberately lowered his head and got close to the mouth of the peaked cap man. The peaked cap man was somewhat inexplicable. I didn't say anything, right? But this was just a momentary thought. The next moment he was knocked unconscious by Yang Ming's hand knife. Yang Ming had to do this. Otherwise he really couldn't explain to Sun Jie how he knew some things. The sandstone excavation site in the south of the city. The person is in a straw shed there. Yang Ming said. What do we do now? Looking at Yang Ming's expression of having everything under control, Sun Jie naturally asked for his opinion. Yes, the shock that Yang Ming brought to her at the moment was too big. Is this the little ruffian college student who had a meal with me last time? Looking at his calmness and way of doing things at the moment, he is even more capable than my father. Sun Jie looked at Yang Ming very complicatedly. Seems that I have never understood him. You go back with the money, brush off the kidnappers and try to delay the time. Yang Ming said, I will go with your men to save them. I will go with you. Sun Jie didn't know why, but she especially wanted to see Yang Ming solve this matter with her own eyes. You have to stay with Yang Li. On the one hand, you have to appease her emotions. On the other hand, which is the most important thing, she can't cope with the kidnappers' questioning. I am afraid that she will reveal flaws. Yang Ming shook his head and said, right, let's do this. You first take 200,000 yuan and say that you don't have enough money for the time being. Then you tell my parents that your men and I will go to another bank to get the money. Sun Jia also knew that Yang Ming was telling the truth. Yang Li must be taken care of by someone, and the other side could only be handed over to Yang Ming. Just as Sun Jia was about to get out of the car, the mobile phone found from the peaked cap man suddenly rang. The caller ID above wrote the two words, Brother Xiong. Did you let them do what I just told you? Yang Ming asked calmly. Without waiting for Sun Jia to speak, the bearded man had taken a laptop from another black-shirt man. Then he pressed the answer button on the phone and turned on the speakerphone. Hey Jazzy, how is the situation on your side? There was a rough voice on the phone. Just now, a van came to the door of the villa. A woman took a leather case from the car. I vaguely heard them say that there were 200,000 yuan in the leather case, and there was still 100,000 yuan left. Then the woman asked the people in the car to go out and get more. The voice of the bearded man had become the voice of the peaked cap man through the computer. This was also what Yang Ming had instructed before. Yang Ming was afraid that the kidnappers would call and contact the peaked cap man who was responsible for surveillance. So he asked Sun Jia's men to bring a laptop and a computer master to simulate the waveform of the peaked cap man's voice. Although it wasn't particularly the same after the retransmission of the phone, there shouldn't be any doubts on the other side. Sure enough, Brother Xiong didn't have any doubts. Okay, I got it. Jazzy, you continue to monitor. This time you will be credited. Thank you, Brother Xiong, said the bearded man. After hanging up the phone, Yang Ming and Sun Jia looked at each other and smiled. After Sun Jia entered the house, she told everyone that there wasn't enough money and that Yang Ming accompanied them to get the money. Yang Dehai said with some concern, this child, why did he follow them blindly? But the person had already left. He had no other way. Yang Li didn't care about Yang Ming's safety at all. She just kept asking Sun Jia if the money could be collected. Sun Jia didn't care about men because she thought that men were hypocritical. Now the appearance of Yang Ming made her change her view. As for Yang Li, she was selfish from the bottom of her heart and looked down on others. Chapter 239. I see. Lu Liang pretended to be very happy. He took the money and put it in his hand. He lowered his head and looked hesitant. It was a small straw shed near the third sand and gravel field in front. If one didn't look carefully, no one would notice such a place. It seemed that this Brother Xiong wasn't a fool. Next to them was a laptop and an internet phone. Obviously they were contacting Yang Li through this. It seemed that these people weren't completely idiots. In this way it was even more impossible to trace anything. Yes, you wait. I will call again to ask. Sun Jia nodded and said. Yang Ming's searching speed was very fast because he could see infinitely. Soon Yang Ming found the location where his uncle was kidnapped. If it attracted the attention of Bao Sanli's underlings, the kidnapping would fail. Lu Liang walked out of the straw shed and grinned outside. Yang Ming actually saw him kill the people inside, but he still smiled and got out of the car like the people in the car. Complete victory. Yang Ming sat in the car and took out his mobile phone. He edited a short message with a smiley face and sent it to Sun Jia. He believed that with Sun Jia's intelligence she would naturally guess the meaning of this. Although they only saw one side of Yang Ming, these people usually admired people with abilities because no one was omnipotent. It was already very good for a person to be able to do well in one aspect. Brother Xiong and the other underling who didn't fall were shocked. What the hell is going on? Before they could react, a ferocious man with a big beard stood in front of them. What kind of trick is this? He had never seen or heard of such a thing before. These three people were originally the best in their respective industries. Now they were recruited by Sun Hongjun to serve the Sun family. They were actually doing a duty and obligation to the Sun family, but they admired Yang Ming from the bottom of their hearts. Who are you? Brother Xiong was in the underworld, so he calmed down quickly. In the straw hut, there were only 3 people in charge of guarding the uncle. One of them was a big man with a round waist who sat casually. This man was probably Brother Bear. He also looked like a bear. The car stopped on the side of the road. Yang Ming pretended to look for the direction of the battlefield and secretly used his special ability. He was observing whether there were any straw sheds nearby and whether there were people in the straw sheds. Brother Xiong's underling saw that something was wrong. He just shouted a word and was knocked out by Lu Liang. Lu Liang didn't need to look at Brother Xiong because he was very confident in his hand. Is the money ready? The voice came from the voice changer. What? Yang Li was shocked. Sister Sun Jie. Calmed. Bring him to the car. Yang Ming said. For example, this bearded man was a famous fighting master in a mercenary group in Vietnam. He was jokingly called Hu Man by his companions because he was too fierce. His real name was Lu Liang. Coincidentally, the door panel and door pin of the straw shed were directly shaken off and directly hit the head of one of Brother Xiong's underlings. The guy was knocked out on the spot. The 3 underlings of the Sun family in the car were all people with unique skills. They were not easily convinced. When Yang Ming got in the car, they only regarded Yang Ming as a friend of the Mississippi. They didn't feel that Yang Ming was special. But as Yang Ming showed his superb interrogation skills, the 3 of them were convinced by Yang Ming. The computer was called Golong. He was a computer hacker in a mercenary group in the United States. Although the driver Mao Kai wasn't a mercenary, he was a racer in an underground car market in the United States. He once maintained the first place in 64 consecutive races. But because he committed a crime, he had to run back to China and work under the Sun family. Who are you? What are you doing in my straw shed? Lu Liang asked. Of course, he couldn't directly say his purpose. He wanted to confuse right and wrong so that Brother Xiong would think that he didn't come for Yang Dashan. Yang Ming didn't say it clearly. He just said a rough number. He was afraid that Brother Xiong would ask him how he got the information, so he just vaguely said it. The person has been rescued and is on the way back. Right, don't tell my parents and Yang Li that I did it. Just say that your underlings found it. Yang Ming instructed. Brother Xiong didn't have any doubts about Yang Li's words because he had already learned from the people monitoring them. They were indeed short of 100,000 yuan. Yang Dashan might have been fed something like sleeping pills. He was sleeping at the moment. Yang Ming wasn't in a hurry to wake him up. Instead, he carried him to the car. Brother Xiong and the 2 underlings were tied up and thrown to the back of the car with the peaked cap man. Sun Jie smiled and comforted. You can rest assured. There will be no problem. We are still short of a part. We are thinking of a way. Yang Li said truthfully according to Sun Jie's instructions. Sun Jie dialed Yang Ming's number. She stood up and deliberately moved to the window. She was afraid that Yang Li would hear the content of the phone call. Oh, this is Sun Jie. Sun Jie didn't say Yang Ming's name. She was also afraid that Yang Li would hear it. Okay, you quickly make the call. Yang Li said in a hurry. Sure enough, Brother Xiong was stunned. Did I take up someone else's space? Originally, Brother Xiong wanted to beat this guy up, but now he was in the wrong. The person in front of him seemed to be quite fierce. There was no need to complicate things. So he smiled and said, Buddy, we brothers are doing things here. Can you make it easy? Easy? But my family has to put the goods in the straw shed. Lu Liang said with some difficulty. Yang Ming thought that he was lucky. What should I do if it hit Uncle's head? Fortunately, Uncle was farther away and was in the innermost part. Brother Xiong grinned. Obviously, he had a plan to do this kind of thing. Just make it easy. Brother Xiong reached out and took out a stack of banknotes from his pocket. He counted out 5 banknotes and handed them to Lu Liang. We will leave tomorrow. So after Sun Jie left, the 3 of them naturally regarded Yang Ming as the boss and listened to his orders. However, to guard a hostage, it was indeed a bit too little to use so few people. Yang Ming thought about it slightly and figured out the border crossing in the middle. The south of the city was Bao Sanli's territory. Yu Xiangda's people couldn't come over with great fanfare. The car began to slow down near the sand field. It was all sand and stone excavation sites. In Yang Ming's memory, his uncle's site was in the front. But he hadn't been here for so many years. He didn't know if he had moved or expanded. Brother Xiong didn't regard him as an enemy at this time, so his spirit was very relaxed. But he didn't expect Lu Liang to suddenly circle behind him and give him a karate chop on the back of his neck. How much difference? Asked the other side. Stop the car. Yang Ming said to Mao Kai, who was driving. The bearded man didn't ask in detail. He just nodded and said, I alone am enough. Sure enough, Sun Jie took out the mobile phone and glanced at it. Then her mouth showed a smile of rebuke. This Yang Ming is still playing this kind of game at this time. However, these couldn't be said to Yang Li. Sun Jie had to pretend to be happy and said, Yang Li, I have good news for you. One of my men found your father. Well, I will give you another hour. Before dark, if you don't get enough, you can wait to collect the corpse. She hung up the phone as she spoke. Although the other two people were also sitting on the ground, they were obviously more restrained. Their faces showed a flattering smile. At first glance, they were the two men. The three people were playing Fight the Landlord with great enthusiasm. They didn't look at Yang Dashin at all. Uncle's hands and feet were tied, and his mouth was stuffed with a piece of white cloth. But looking at the rise and fall of his chest, it was obvious that there was no big problem. The bearded man came directly to the front of the straw shed. He didn't even knock on the door. He directly kicked the straw door. Although Brother Xiong had already blocked it, how could it withstand the kick of the bearded man? There is still 100,000 left. Yang Li replied. Sun Jie didn't expect things to go so smoothly. It didn't take much persuasion to make the other party believe her words. However, Yang Li was very worried. Sister Sun Jie, why are there still 100,000 left? Can you get enough? You must get enough. Yang Ming sat in the front passenger seat and directed the driver to go to the sandstone field of his uncle in the south of the city. Yang Ming hadn't been here for a long time. The last time he was here was when he was in elementary school. After his uncle had money, he didn't like these poor relatives anymore. Yang Ming was too lazy to annoy them in front of him. He didn't expect that when he came here again, it was to rescue his uncle. The car began to slow down as it approached the sand field. This was a sand field. In Yang Ming's memory, his uncle's field was in the front. However, he hadn't been here for so many years. He didn't know if he had moved or expanded. Stop the car. Yang Ming said to Mao Kai, who was driving. The car stopped on the side of the road. Yang Ming pretended to look for the sand field and secretly used his special ability. He was observing whether there were any straw huts nearby and whether there were people in the straw huts. Yang Ming's searching speed was very fast because he could see infinitely. Soon Yang Ming found the location where his uncle was kidnapped. It was a small straw hut near the third sand field in front. If one didn't look carefully, no one would notice this place. It seemed that this Brother Xiong wasn't a fool. His uncle's hands and feet were tied, and his mouth was stuffed with a piece of white cloth. However, looking at the rise and fall of his chest, it was obvious that there was no big problem. In the straw hut, there were only 3 people in charge of guarding the uncle. One of them was big and round, and he sat very casually. This person was probably Brother Xiong. He looked quite like a bear. Although the other 2 people were sitting on the ground, they were obviously more restrained. Their faces showed a flattering smile. At first glance, they were 2 underlings. The 3 people were playing Fight the Landlord. They were playing with enthusiasm and didn't look at Yang Dashin. Next to them was a laptop and an internet phone. Apparently they were contacting Yang Li through this. It seemed that these people weren't completely idiots. In this way, it was even more impossible to trace anything. However, to guard a hostage with only a few people, it was indeed a bit too little. Yang Ming thought about it slightly and figured out the middle boundary. The south of the city was Bao Sanli's territory. Yuxiangda's people couldn't come over with great fanfare. If it attracted the attention of Bao Sanli's underlings, the kidnapping would fail. Yang Ming directed Mao Kai to park the car near the straw hut and then said to the big bearded man, "There are about 3 or 4 people inside. Can you deal with them?" Yang Ming didn't say it so firmly. He just said a rough number. He was afraid that the big bearded man would ask him how he got the information, so he just vaguely said it. The big bearded man didn't ask in detail. He just nodded and said, "I alone am enough. Okay, knock them out. Bring them to the car," Yang Ming said. The big bearded man grinned. Apparently he had a plan to do this kind of thing. The big bearded man came directly to the front of the straw hut. He didn't even knock on the door. He directly kicked the straw door away. Although Brother Xiong had already blocked it, how could it withstand the big bearded man's kick? Coincidentally, the door panel and door pin of the straw hut were directly shaken up and directly hit the head of one of Brother Xiong's underlings. This guy was knocked out on the spot. Yang Ming saw it and felt lucky. What if this hit his uncle's head? Fortunately, his uncle was relatively far away and was in the innermost part. Brother Xiong and the other underling who didn't fall were shocked. What the hell is going on? Before they could react, a ferocious man with a big beard stood in front of them. "Who are you?" Brother Xiong was in the underworld, so he calmed down quickly. "Who are you? What are you doing in my straw hut?" Lu Liang asked. Of course, he couldn't directly say his purpose. He just wanted to confuse right and wrong and let Brother Xiong think that he didn't come for Yang Dashan. Sure enough, Brother Xiong was stunned. Did I take over someone else's place? Originally, Brother Xiong wanted to beat the guy in front of him, but now he was in the wrong. The person in front of him seemed to be quite fierce, so there was no need to complicate things. So he smiled and said, "Brother, we brothers are doing things here. Can you make it easy?" "Easy? But my family has to put the goods in the straw hut," Lu Liang said with some difficulty. Make it easy." Brother Xiong reached out and took out a stack of banknotes from his pocket. He counted 5 banknotes and handed them to Lu Liang. "We will leave tomorrow." "So that's it." Lu Liang pretended to be very happy. He took the banknotes and put them in his hand. He lowered his head and looked hesitant. Brother Xiong didn't treat him as an enemy at this time, so his spirit was very relaxed. But he didn't expect Lu Liang to suddenly circle behind him and give him a karate chop on the back of his neck. Brother Xiong's underling saw that something was wrong. He just opened his mouth to shout a word and he was knocked unconscious by Lu Liang. Lu Liang didn't need to look at Brother Xiong because he was very confident in his own hand. Lu Liang walked out of the straw hut and grinned outside. In fact, Yang Ming had already seen him deal with the people inside, but he still smiled and got out of the car like the people in the car. Yang Dashan might have been fed something like sleeping pills. He was sleeping at the moment. Yang Ming wasn't in a hurry to wake him up. Instead, he carried him to the car. Brother Xiong and the 2 underlings were tied up and thrown to the back of the car, together with the peaked cap man. Complete victory. Yang Ming sat in the car and took out his mobile phone. He edited a short message with a smiley face and sent it to Sun Jie. He believed that with Sun Jie's cleverness she would naturally guess the meaning of this. Sure enough, Sun Jie took out the mobile phone and glanced at it. Then her mouth showed a smile. This Yang Ming is still playing this kind of game at this time. However, this couldn't be said to Yang Li. Sun Jie had to pretend to be happy and said, "Yang Li, let me tell you a good news. One of my underlings found your father." "What?" Yang Li was shocked. Her eyes showed a look of surprise. "Sister Sun Jie, is it true? You said that your underling found my father?" "Yes, you wait. I will call again and ask." Sun Jie nodded and said, "Okay, you call quickly," Yang Li said in a hurry. Sun Jie dialed Yang Ming's number. She stood up and deliberately moved to the window. She was afraid that Yang Li would hear the content of the phone call. "Oh, this is Sun Jie." Sun Jie didn't say Yang Ming's name. She was also afraid that Yang Li would hear it. "The person has been rescued and is on the way back. Right, don't tell my parents and Yang Li that I did it. Just say that your underling found it," Yang Ming instructed. Chapter 241. This is the license for this brand. The car is a complete set of procedures. There won't be a problem. Sun Jie didn't bother with him but handed a small blue book to Yang Ming. Yang Ming nodded. He didn't say anything on the surface, but he was a little surprised. What does Sun Jie's family do? The average rich family wouldn't play with fake license plates. Even if the traffic police detained the car, they would have connections. Now it seemed that Sun Jie's car had other license plates prepared. It seemed that the license plates were often changed. Yang Ming glanced at the Donghai license plate that Sun Jie ordered Big Beard to remove. Sun Jie seemed to understand Yang Ming's thoughts and said faintly, "The Donghai license plate is also fake. This car is smuggled. The glass and door are all modified to be bulletproof." Yang Ming knew that although his relationship with Sun Jie seemed to be very close, it hadn't reached the point where they could talk about everything. It was useless to ask more. Sun Jie would tell him everything. "Thank you." Yang Ming smiled at Sun Jie. "After the car is used up, I will call you." "How do they go back?" Yang Ming pointed to Big Beard and the other 2. "Take a taxi." Sun Jie rolled her eyes at Yang Ming. "You don't seem to be so retarded, right?" Yang Ming smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that his casual concern would be called an idiot. After driving Zhang Bin's car for a while, Yang Ming was also an experienced driver. He started the car lightly and then slowly drove to the hospital where Ho Jinhan was. "Ho Jinhan." Yang Ming dialed Ho Jinhan's phone. "Brother Yang, it's me. Do you have any instructions?" Ho Jinhan answered the phone. "And tonight there is a task for you. I am in the parking lot below the hospital. You explain it over there and come down as soon as possible." Yang Ming instructed. "No problem. I am eating with my mother. I will come down in 10 minutes. Ho Jinhan said. Okay, I will wait for you. It's a blue Buick minivan with a Guangdong license plate. Yang Ming said. Got it. Ho Jinhan responded. The 4 people in the back of the car would not wake up for a while. They were also drugged by the bearded man. It was estimated that they would not wake up until midnight. Yang Ming looked at the peaked cap man behind him. Although these 4 people were sent to Bao Sanli's hands, it was estimated that they would not survive, but Yang Ming was still a little worried. After all, the peaked cap man had seen his appearance. He was afraid that the peaked cap man would talk nonsense when he woke up. Yang Ming looked at the baseball cap and took a deep breath. Although he knew that his life would be completely different from the moment he obtained his special ability, he still struggled for a long time in his heart. Sometimes life was like this. Being sympathetic to your enemy was being cruel to yourself. Yang Ming sighed. These 4 people were in the hands of Bao Sanli. It was completely unknown whether they were alive or dead. Bao Sanli was likely to kill these 4 people in front of his subordinates to boost their morale. Now if Yang Ming helped the peaked cap man, it might be his relief. Thinking of this, Yang Ming slowly moved in the direction of the peaked cap man. The back of the Buick was completely sealed off. The windows were also pasted so the outside couldn't see the situation inside. Yang Ming didn't have to worry about being seen. Yang Ming raised his hand and hit an acupuncture point on the head of the peaked cap man. The unconscious peaked cap man groaned. His body twitched slightly and then he resumed his even breathing. Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief and calmed his emotions. The peaked cap man had become a useless person. It was estimated that he would never wake up again. However, he would also be spared from being tortured by Bao Sanli. After doing all this, Yang Ming took out his mobile phone and called Bao Sanli. Brother Yang, why did you think of calling me? Bao Sanli was now proud of his success. There was a faint smile in his tone. Brother Bao, a friend of mine caught 4 of Yu Xiangda's underlings. Yang Ming had already thought of an excuse, so he said very calmly. Your friend? Who is it? Bao Sanli was stunned, but he asked with some vigilance. He is also a person who wants to get involved in the underworld of Songjiang. You may have the possibility of cooperating with him. Yang Ming said. Did he ask you to talk to me? Bao Sanli hesitated and said, Brother Yang, you also know that our relationship is a life and death friendship in the detention center. If you want to get a share of it, I am willing to do it without any hesitation. But for others, I am afraid that he won't be able to handle the situation in Songjiang. Yang Ming had long expected that Bao Sanli would say this. After all, Bao Sanli didn't know him. It was impossible for Bao Sanli to agree. Especially now that Bao Sanli was in an advantage, he hadn't reached the point where he couldn't be choosy. If it was Yang Ming, he wouldn't easily accept a stranger's intention to cooperate. No, I don't know this person, but I have a friendship with one of his confidants. I'm just telling you what I've heard, Yang Ming said casually. But turned out to be like this. Bao Sanli didn't doubt him. Right, why did they catch Yu Xiangda's underlings? In fact, the matter is like this. My uncle was kidnapped by Yu Xiangda's underlings. My friend happened to have some conflicts with Yu Xiangda. I didn't expect that he would rescue my uncle on the way. That's why I knew that they had captured 4 of Yu Xiangda's men. Otherwise, my relationship with that person wasn't particularly good. If it weren't for my uncle, he wouldn't have told me these things. Yang Ming said with a mixture of truth and lies. It is like this. Right, what is your uncle's name? Bao Sanli suddenly thought of something and asked. Yang Dashan. Yang Ming pretended not to understand and asked, What's wrong? Is there a problem? Yang Dashan. He's your uncle? Bao Sanli asked in surprise. Yeah, he is my uncle. Yang Ming pretended to be puzzled. What a coincidence. Right, is your uncle okay? Yang Dashan was Bao Sanli's god of wealth, so Bao Sanli immediately shifted his attention to this. No, they didn't do anything to my uncle. There should be no big problem. Yang Ming said, It is a coincidence. Their underlings had a conflict with Yu Xiangda's underlings. I didn't expect that they actually saved my uncle. This was what Yang Ming said deliberately. The purpose was to dispel Bao Sanli's suspicion. Sure enough, Bao Sanli didn't doubt him. It's good that he is fine. Right, Brother Bao, they want to give Yu Xiangda's underlings to you. I don't know if you are willing to accept them? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Give them to me? What happened? Aren't they going to deal with Yu Xiangda? Bao Sanli was a bit puzzled. They have no friendship with Yu Xiangda. The conflict with his underlings was purely accidental. I am not very clear about the specific situation. Let's do it this way. I will let their underlings find you. I will just act as a middleman. Yang Ming said very vaguely. If that's the case, then you ask them to come to the Nightless Club to find me. We will talk about it when we meet. Bao Sanli thought about it. He felt that if such a favor was given to him for free, it would be a waste if he didn't accept it. However, he still had to be cautious about this matter. Right, I heard them say that there is a person named Brother Xiong among them. Yang Ming heard that Bao Sanli's tone didn't seem to be very serious about this matter, so he increased his bargaining chip. Although Yang Ming didn't know what role this Brother Xiong played by Yu Xiangda's side, Yu Xiangda could give him important things to do. It seemed that his position in the gang wasn't low. So Yang Ming said a sentence tentatively. What? Big Xiong was also caught. Bao Sanli was shocked and immediately said, Brother Yang, where are the people you mentioned? Can you call them over immediately? Or I can send a car to pick them up. Yang Ming didn't know what this Brother Xiong did, but Bao Sanli knew. Brother Xiong's position by Yu Xiangda's side was no less than Di Lei and Qi Wenrui's position by his side. Big Bear was like a right-hand man. If he could capture Big Bear, it would be very advantageous for him in front of both his subordinates and Yu Xiangda. So when Bao Sanli heard the two words, Brother Xiong, he immediately became interested. Yang Ming secretly smiled and knew that he guessed correctly, so he said, I don't know where they are. Let's do it this way. I will call my friend and let him find you now. Okay, then I will leave it to you, Brother Yang. Bao Sanli said happily. Although this matter seemed to have a lot of doubts in the middle, Bao Sanli was originally a rough person. Moreover, the matter of Yang Ming was mixed in the middle, so Bao Sanli didn't have any doubts about Yang Ming. Moreover, now he was blinded by the joy of catching Big Xiong. He didn't think about the conflicts in the middle. Little monkey. Hehe. What boss? Hehe, it's just a small business. Since Ho Jinhan said so, Yang Ming didn't deny it and nodded. Mr. Yang is really young and promising. My little monkey doesn't have much ability. Mr. Yang, you have to take care of him in the future. Mother Ho said enthusiastically. Auntie, rest assured. I will definitely do it. Yang Ming nodded. I know. My little monkey said that this operation fee was paid by you first. He said that you are a good person, unlike the previous boss who not only gave less but also embezzled. After a month there is nothing left. Mother Ho said very gratefully, right, I was just talking. Should I call little monkey and ask him to come back? No need, Auntie. I asked him to go out and do something. Yang Ming said quickly, I saw him downstairs. He drove my car and left. Turned out to be a business matter. That's good. Mother Ho nodded. This kid just told me that he was going to do something at night. I thought he was lying to me. I was thinking about what to do at night. Maybe he fooled me and went to drink with his original friends? Now I'm relieved. Yang Ming felt ashamed in his heart. However, there was no way. Some things still had to be done. Whether it was for himself, his family, Lan Ling, Chen Mengyan, and Yang Ming had to work hard. And you can rest assured. Usually when Ho Jinhan goes out at night, I am the one who looks for him. Yang Ming said. And since you said so, then I have nothing to worry about. You are the boss. You give him a salary. He should do things for you. But this child came back from the army. He may have a bad temper. As Mother Ho said this, she was worried. I heard that his first job was because his character was too impulsive. This child, I am afraid that he will do something that will harm the company. Auntie, you can rest assured. I admire Ho Jinhan's character. No problem. Yang Ming smiled and said, besides, I will also supervise him. Yang Ming chatted with Mother Ho for a while. He took out his mobile phone and looked at the time. 30 minutes had passed. Ho Jinhan should have contacted Bao Sanli. I don't know how things are going. Ho Jinhan followed Yang Ming's instructions and met Bao Sanli at the Nightless Club. When Bao Sanli confirmed that one of the people in the car was Big Bear, his face was suddenly full of smiles. He became very enthusiastic to Ho Jinhan. Bao Sanli ordered the kitchen to immediately prepare a sumptuous banquet. He wanted to treat Ho Jinhan. Many of the dishes in the nightclub were ready-made or semi-finished, so the preparation was quite fast. After a while the dishes were on the table. Ho Jinhan usually couldn't eat these delicacies. When he saw so much seafood on the table, he naturally coveted it. But he knew that his behavior today would represent Yang Ming in the future. He couldn't lose face for Yang Ming. He remembered his identity. He was now the underling of a very powerful boss. He couldn't let Bao Sanli look down on him. Sure enough, Ho Junhan's calm look made Bao Sanli speak first. I'm sorry. I know that Mr. Ho is a distinguished guest from afar. You may not like the food here. But now my nightclub is not a big restaurant. There aren't so many dishes. I hope Mr. Ho won't be offended if I don't treat you well. How can I? I'm just working for the boss. I usually eat plain tea. Mr. Bao's words are too serious. Ho Junhan smiled and said, Come, let me toast you first. Thank you, Mr. Bao, for preparing the dishes for me. To be honest, I've been busy today. I'm really hungry. Hehe. Well, cheers. Bao Sanli heard Ho Junhan's words and knew that he was a straightforward person. He was relieved. Previously, he was afraid that this kind of foreign tycoon would be very overbearing. Just now, Bao Sanli also saw the Guangdong license plate on Ho Junhan's car, so he naturally thought that Ho Junhan was a foreigner. After a cup of wine, Ho Junhan simply stuffed some food into his mouth. He was really hungry, but in the current situation he couldn't eat too much. He could only eat more without leaving a trace. Today I would like to thank Mr. Ho for sending me these 4 people. I am really grateful. Bao Sanli said, as the saying goes, don't accept rewards without pains. I don't know what Mr. Ho wants from me. This was what Bao Sanli was most concerned about. Although he caught Big Bear and could establish his prestige, and it was also a fatal blow to Xiongda, these people were sent by Mr. Ho in front of him. Bao Sanli had to ask clearly about the power of the middle. Hehe, Mr. Bao, what are you talking about? The boss said that these 4 people are a greeting gift for Mr. Bao. What do you want in return? Ho Junhan smiled and shook his head. This. Bao Sanli was stunned. Is that simple? A greeting gift for me? Mr. Bao, you don't have to worry too much. I will leave them for you in a while. Ho Junhan said with a smile, I am also working for the boss. This is the boss's intention. I don't need to be careless with Mr. Bao, hehe. Good, straightforward. Bao Sanli nodded and said very happily, Brother, you are forthright. I, Bao Sanli, am not that kind of ungrateful person. As he spoke, he took out a bank card from his pocket and said, Here is 100,000 yuan. Consider it as a thank you gift to your boss. Mr. Bao, you are wrong to do this. Ho Junhan quickly declined. Our boss said that there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. Mr. Bao, you don't have to rush to thank me. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but your boss is. This was the question that Bao Sanli wanted to ask the most. I'm sorry, Mr. Bao. The boss is a person who likes peace and quiet, and his identity is very special. I can't answer. Ho Junhan shook his head apologetically. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. I am being nosy. Bao Sanli smiled and said. However, he had some doubts in his heart. What does Ho Junhan's boss want to do? Chapter 243. At the table, Ho Junhan didn't propose any cooperation to unify the underworld of Songjiang. This made Bao Sanli feel relieved. What he was most afraid of now was that Ho Junhan's boss would jump out and share a piece of the pie with him. If Yang Ming came out and shared a piece of the pie with him, Bao Sanli was willing. After all, it was a friendship of life and death. They went to prison together, fought together, and even went to prostitution together. However, for people in the underworld, the friendship in prison was a true friendship. It wasn't that Yang Ming didn't want to do this, but his current identity didn't allow it. He was now a student. If he went out to mingle in the underworld, not to mention his parents, even Qin Mingyan wouldn't agree. Although Ho Junhan was very hungry, he didn't eat much. He chatted with Bao Sanli for a while, then he got up and left. When he walked to the door, he pretended to be unintentional and said casually to Bao Sanli, the boss isn't very interested in Songjiang's underworld now. He doesn't want to get involved immediately. Now I'm waiting for Mr. Bao's good news. Hehe, thank your boss for his auspicious words. Bao Sanli listened to Ho Junhan's words and finally felt relieved. A few glasses of beer were a piece of cake for Ho Junhan. His face wasn't red and his heart wasn't beating fast. He drove steadily. Ho Junhan followed Yang Ming's request and drove around the second ring road twice. After confirming that no one was following him, he drove the car to a small alley. He put on the Donghai sign and then went in the direction of the hospital. On the way, he saw a snack shop that was still open. Ho Junhan went in and bought 5 meat buns. He ate them in a few bites. It was ridiculous when he thought about it. There were so many lobsters and abalones on the table, but he still wanted to eat these cheap meat buns. However, Ho Junhan didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. Why would he pay so much attention to doing things for Yang Ming? After parking the car downstairs in the hospital, Ho Junhan returned to his mother's ward. When he entered the door, he saw Yang Ming peeling an apple for his mother. He couldn't help but feel touched. It seems that I didn't follow the wrong person. Yang Ming was a sentimental person. Obviously, he would not treat himself unfairly. Brother Yang, the matter has been settled. So late. You should go back. When Ho Junhan spoke, he quickly gave Yang Ming a wink. Yang Ming knew that things were going well. He nodded and said, "Well, I'll go first. Take care of Auntie." "Boss Yang, are you leaving? Little monkey, you go and see the boss out." Mother Ho ordered. "I know, Mom." Ho Junhan also had something to report to Yang Ming alone, so he nodded obediently and walked out of the ward with Yang Ming. "How is it? Bao Sanli didn't suspect anything, right?" Yang Ming asked as he walked. "No, he was very happy with your gift." Ho Junhan replied, "Moreover, this person is not very careful. When I came out, no one followed me." "I know. You should go back." Yang Ming patted Ho Junhan's shoulder and said, "You did a good job." "Thank you." "Brother Yang, you're being too polite. This is what I should do." Ho Junhan quickly waved his hand. "Okay, I understand." Yang Ming nodded and said, "You wait for my news. The opportunity for you to show your skills is not too far away." Yang Ming walked out of the hospital and drove the Buick business car with the new license plate to his home. Gee. Yang Ming stepped on the brakes and parked the car on the side of the road, next to a girl in white. Yang Ming's vision was very good. The vision at night was not very good. Yang Ming unconsciously used his own special abilities. Night vision plus telescopic vision plus X-ray vision. Now his vision was wide open. Yang Ming could see clearly what was in front of him. Suddenly he found a familiar figure. It was actually his classmate Lin Jiun. If Yang Ming couldn't see it, it would be fine. Now that he saw it, he couldn't just sit idly by. In this dark, Lin Jiun was a girl walking alone on the road. How could Yang Ming be at ease? Although the current public security wasn't very bad after all, it hadn't reached the level of not closing the door at night, right? Therefore Yang Ming naturally parked the car next to her and decided to give her a ride. However, Yang Ming's sudden braking gave Lin Jiun a fright. It was almost 10 o'clock now. There was no one on the road. Lin Jiun's heart was also drumming, but there was no subway station nearby. The bus had already left. Lin Jiun had to bite the bullet and walk home. Just as he was feeling scared, he saw a van stop beside him with a screeching sound. For a time the words kidnapping and trafficking instantly crossed Lin Jiun's mind. Lin Jiun subconsciously ran to the front, but if it was really a gangster, what was the use of running? "Shin Lin." Yang Ming opened the window and shouted. Lin Jiun didn't react in time, but Yang Ming shouted again. She stopped in surprise and looked back. Because this was the fake name she told Yang Ming, and only Yang Ming knew it. Sure enough, Lin Jiun saw Yang Ming sticking his head out of the window and looking at her with a smile. "Yang Ming?" Lin Jiun had some doubts, but she still walked in the direction of the car. "Where are you going? Get in the car. I'll give you a ride." As Yang Ming spoke, he opened the door of the front passenger seat. "This." Lin Jiun hesitated and finally got in the car. She was already scared just now. After being scared by Yang Ming, she was even more scared. Lin Jiun really didn't have the courage to continue. However, this was Yang Ming's car. If it was someone else's car, Lin Jiun would never get in. Lin Jiun wasn't a simple little girl. She knew that it was more dangerous for a girl to get in a boy's car in the middle of the night than to walk at night. However, for Yang Ming, Lin Jiun didn't have so many scruples. First, she had already asked Yang Ming to send her home once. Second, she and he had already done it. The consequences couldn't be more serious than this, right? Therefore, Lin Jiun's immunity to Yang Ming was still very low. "Are you going home?" asked Yang Ming. And Lin Jiun nodded with a blush. She always wanted to avoid him, but she always met him by chance. Sometimes life was so helpless. You had to face things that you didn't want to face. "It's so late. What are you doing out here? Don't tell me that you went to dig mushrooms again." Yang Ming started the car and drove in the direction of Lin Jiun's home. "It's not raining. How can there be mushrooms? Nonsense." Lin Jiun listened to Yang Ming's words and was a little dumbfounded. Is this a college student's question? Sorry, I didn't study well in elementary school science. Yang Ming smiled embarrassedly. I was tutoring a junior high school student. I just finished my class. The supplementary material was biology. I think it's necessary for you to listen to it next time. Perhaps because of Yang Ming's nonsensical question, the atmosphere between the two people became harmonious. Lin Jiyun also casually made a joke. Turns out that you are tutoring someone. Yang Ming couldn't help but admire the girl in front of him. She was actually willing to work hard. Especially for such a beautiful city girl like Lin Jiyun, it was rare to see her go out to work. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't want to go out so late. Lin Jiyun shook her head. If it's too late, then take a taxi. Here, girl. It's dangerous for you to walk at night. Yang Ming said with some concern. Take a taxi? Forget it. I only earned 40 yuan for 2 hours of tutoring. Takes more than 10 yuan to take a taxi. Lin Jiyun smiled bitterly. It's too extravagant. Yang Ming nodded and didn't say anything. Indeed, Lin Jiyun was right. Since she was going to work to earn money, how could she take a taxi? But he still kindly reminded her, but it's really dangerous for you. You can find a home tutor near the school. I wanted to, but the child in this house was reluctant to leave me. I was soft-hearted, so I kept tutoring him. Lin Jiyun shook her head helplessly. As they were talking, a Porsche Carrera GT suddenly rushed out from a small intersection in front. Because it was night, Yang Ming's speed was very fast. Because he was talking to Lin Jiyun, he only paid attention to the road in front and didn't pay attention to the sides. Therefore, Yang Ming didn't see the Porsche that came out from the side. When it came out, Yang Ming was too late to step on the brakes. The two cars inevitably had a close contact. Quang dang, the sound was quite loud, but Yang Ming didn't feel too much vibration in the car. How could there be someone who could drive this kind of car? Thinking of this, Yang Ming couldn't help but frown and glance at the Porsche Carrera in front of him. At first glance, Yang Ming couldn't help but be amused. This car is really strong on the outside but weak on the inside. The paint on the outside of the car was sprayed brightly, but the sheet metal inside had been changed to 7 or 8 crooked. Seeing this, Yang Ming's heart was like a mirror. These two people were 100% professional scammers. They used a fake luxury sports car to fool people and cheat others of their money. After figuring this out, Yang Ming was also anxious. He said happily, "Do you know what kind of car this is? It is an original imported Buick car from the United States. The engine and exhaust pipe were modified by me. The total cost is more than 2 million yuan. Fuck. Bullshit." The jacket man glared at him. "Who are you fooling? Let me tell you. I am an expert in this field. Your broken car is worth 2 million yuan? Are you kidding me? I came from a car repair factory." As he said this, the jacket man immediately shut up. He almost subconsciously blurted out the matter. The black trench coat man quickly said, "Well, even if your car is worth 2 million yuan, this is a Porsche. Have you heard of Porsche? This is the best sports car in Porsche, the Carrera. Mine is more than 7 million yuan. It is more valuable than yours, right? Oh, you didn't understand, right? I said that the car was imported from the United States. Naturally, it was modified in the United States. The 2 million I said was in US dollars. Yang Ming said with a smile. "You are fooling us." When the jacket man heard Yang Ming's words, he was immediately angry. What did they do? They opened a car repair factory. They could see the value of the car at a glance. Yang Ming's car was indeed modified, but it definitely wouldn't cost so much money. Looking at Yang Ming's mocking eyes, the jacket man was more sure that Yang Ming was fooling him. "You hit us. Don't talk so much nonsense. Just tell me, what should we do?" The black trench coat man glared. He didn't want to talk nonsense with Yang Ming. Yesterday he hit a guy who drove a Mercedes-Benz. The guy didn't say anything and just sold it for 50,000 yuan. He didn't expect to meet a tough guy today. "What do you think we should do?" Yang Ming asked. Just now he was complaining that Yang Ming didn't know what to do. Suddenly he heard Yang Ming ask him what to do. The black trench coat man was overjoyed. He quickly said, "You also saw it. My car is new. You hit me like this. I won't say anything more. Give me 100,000 yuan and we will settle this privately." 100,000? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Just 100,000? The black trench coat man listened to Yang Ming's tone. Could it be that he asked for too little? Stunned, he said, "Oh right, I remember, I have to drive this car to a wedding tomorrow. It's over." You're delaying my business. You should at least compensate for my loss, right? How much? Yang Ming still asked with a smile. It should be one. The black trench coat man wanted to say 10,000, but he was interrupted by the jacket man. 50,000. Okay, 150,000. That's it? Yang Ming was still the same. That. The two brothers thought about it. Did they meet a rich guy? They thought about how Yang Ming said that he spent 2 million USD to modify the car. Could it be true? Could this guy be a sucker? Thinking about this, the jacket man made up his mind. How about this? You give me 200,000 and you can go. You don't have to call a tow truck for us. We will push the car back ourselves. Yang Ming nodded and suddenly sneered. You two are quite good at raising the price. It was 100,000 just now. How did it become 200,000 in a while? The jacket man and the black trench coat man had already regarded Yang Ming as a rich guy at the moment. Besides, there were two people on their side. Yang Ming was only one person. They weren't afraid of anything. The jacket man said casually, 200,000 is too cheap for you. Do you know who I am? In Songjiang, do you think an ordinary person can drive a Porsche? Oh. Yang Ming chuckled and pretended to look at him in surprise. Let me tell you. Those who can drive this kind of sports car are generally ruthless people. Today we are in a good mood. We don't want to trouble you. The jacket man continued to fool him. Otherwise, when we call the police, I'm not scaring you. Your car will be deducted on the spot. Not only will you have to repair my car, but you will also be fined. Deducting points from your driver's license is a small matter. If your driver's license isn't revoked, you should thank the gods. Then let's call the police. Yang Ming said faintly after listening. Right. What? The jacket man was stunned. You want to call the police? Yeah, I haven't seen a ruthless person. I want to see it. Yang Ming nodded. Ugh, forget it. I am in a good mood these days. I won't trouble you. The jacket man said quickly. Don't. Let's call the police. I have a phone here. Yang Ming pretended to take out his phone. It's already late at night. It's not good to trouble the traffic police. Besides, the police won't do you any good at all. Although I want him to handle the case fairly, but the police know us brothers who told us to be the fierce people of Songjiang City. They will definitely favor us. This is not good for you. The jacket man smiled bitterly and persuaded Yang Ming. When Yang Ming heard his words, he was so happy that his stomach was cramping. This guy really knows how to lie without feeling a toothache. It's okay. I think we should still call the police. Chapter 245. Yang Ming had played enough with him. He was annoyed when he looked at the black trench coat man. So he took advantage of the time when the black trench coat man bent down to look for something in the trunk. He closed the trunk and hit the back of the black trench coat man. This guy groaned, followed by a pig-like howl. He was probably hit hard. The jacket man saw that Yang Ming killed one of his people in an instant. He was a little scared. He pointed at Yang Ming and said, "How can you hurt people? I will really call the police." Whatever. Yang Ming kicked the butt of the black trench coat man and said, "Call the police? You want to? Why don't you call? Do you need me to help you? Let me tell you. We are the ruthless people of Songjiang City. If you call the police, you will be useless." The jacket man said with some fear. "Hey, don't pretend. Let's talk about how to do this." Yang Ming interrupted him impatiently. "You dare to call the police when you don't have any paperwork for your broken car?" Yang Ming saw that the jacket man didn't speak, so he continued, "Well, I don't care how much you want. Give me 10,000 yuan. What about my car?" The jacket man didn't expect Yang Ming to ask him for money. "Go back and fix your broken car yourself." Yang Ming flew up and kicked the shell of the Porsche. Suddenly there was a big hole, making the jacket man feel distressed. The jacket man knew that he finally met a ruthless person today. If the black trench coat man wasn't beaten by Yang Ming, then they still had a chance to fight. But now, facing the tall and powerful Yang Ming, the jacket man had no chance of winning. Maybe he wanted to run away. Yang Ming saw him looking around and immediately guessed his thoughts. He reached out and grabbed the jacket man's collar. He picked him up directly and said, in a word, "Do you want to give the money or do you want to be hit like a car? Cough cough. Let me go. I will give you the money." The jacket man felt that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. He admitted defeat today, but he remembered the other party's license plate number. He must get back at them. The jacket man had no choice but to obediently take out 5,000 yuan. Then he took out another 5,000 yuan from the pocket of the black trench coat. Originally, the two of them had planned to have fun, but in the end the money was given away before they could spend it. Fortunately, he had extorted 50,000 yuan yesterday. Now that 10,000 yuan had been taken away, he still had 40,000 yuan left. Thinking of this, jacket man felt less depressed. Yang Ming didn't care what he thought. He took the money and got in the car. He reversed the car to the back, turned the rudder to the left and drove off. What did you say to him? Do we have to pay for it? Lin Jiyun was in the car and there were no street lights in this area. From this angle she didn't see the action of the man in the jacket giving Yang Ming money. Moreover, the soundproofing in the car was better so they couldn't hear what they were saying. So when Yang Ming got in the car, Lin Jiyun immediately asked with concern. It's okay, it's just a scam. He let me teach him a lesson. Yang Ming didn't say much. He didn't want to bring the matters of the society into the campus. Lin Jiyun looked like a pool of clear water. Yang Ming didn't want her to be polluted. Oh. Lin Jiyun saw that Yang Ming didn't want to say more, so she no longer asked. Anyway, it was fine as long as nothing happened. So she apologized. I'm sorry. Sorry? Yang Ming was stunned. What do you mean? If you didn't send me home, you wouldn't have taken this road. Lin Jiyun explained. It's fine. Don't think so much. Yang Ming smiled and said, not to mention we didn't lose anything. Lin Jiyun couldn't help but fall into contemplation. What kind of person is Yang Ming? Usually Lin Jiyun was in contact with her own classmates, but compared to Yang Ming they weren't on the same level. Lin Jiyun couldn't imagine that Yang Ming was the same as her, a first-year student. Although she inexplicably had that kind of relationship with Yang Ming, she couldn't remember the situation at the time. There was only pain and fear. But now the person who was violent to her was sitting next to her. But Lin Jiyun didn't have the slightest sense of rejection. Subconsciously, Lin Jiyun thought that Yang Ming helped her and she promised to sell her virginity to him. So this was a fair deal. Now both of them didn't owe each other anything. It was because of this that Lin Jiyun could be so close to Yang Ming. Yang Ming also saw that Lin Jiyun was in a daze, but he definitely didn't guess that Lin Jiyun was thinking about him at the moment. Yang Ming thought that she was too tired. Yes, for a girl it was really hard for her to go out and teach to earn money so late at night. Thinking of this, Yang Ming took advantage of Lin Jiyun's daze and stuffed the 10,000 yuan that he had just extorted into Lin Jiyun's school bag. Yang Ming originally had good intentions, but he didn't expect this move to almost kill Lin Jiyun. It was still the same intersection as last time. Yang Ming still watched Lin Jiyun return home before he got in the car and returned home. After Bao Sanli got Brother Xiong and the other 4 people under Yu Xiangda, he was very happy. He immediately called Yu Xiangda and ridiculed him. Yu Xiangda was worried about the disappearance of his men at the moment. He asked Big Bear to kidnap a person. Why was there no news after that? How could such a simple thing be so complicated? In the beginning, Yu Xiangda didn't take it seriously. He thought that Big Bear's phone was dead and he would contact him in a while. But after waiting for a long time, there was still no news from Big Bear in the evening. Yu Xiangda was anxious. Could it be that he was in trouble? However, before Yu Xiangda sent someone to look for him, Bao Sanli's call came. He claimed that Big Bear and the other 4 people had all fallen into his hands, and then he ridiculed him. Yu Xiangda was so angry that he threw the phone on the spot. Yang Ming's move of using a borrowed knife to kill people was brilliant. It was simply brilliant. He killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only did he successfully transfer Yu Xiangda's hatred for his uncle to Bao Sanli, but Bao Sanli also owed him a big favor. If Yang Ming directly killed Big Bear and the other 3 people or let them go, Yu Xiangda was bound to blame him. After all, he suffered a loss in his hands. Yang Ming wasn't afraid, but his uncle's family couldn't. Although Yang Ming's relationship with his uncle's family wasn't good, he still had to take care of it when something happened. Therefore, Yang Ming simply sent the 4 people to Bao Sanli quietly to prevent future trouble. As for Bao Sanli, in order to take care of his own face, he would never say how Big Bear and the other 3 people were caught. Yu Xiangda couldn't understand whether Big Bear was kidnapped or was directly caught by Bao Sanli. He could only grit his teeth in anger. In this matter, the only person who had seen Yang Ming's original appearance, the peaked cap man, had become an idiot, so Yang Ming was not worried that he would be exposed. Originally, Yu Xiangda was very cautious about the help from Dong Hai. After all, he also understood the principle of inviting a wolf into the house. Therefore Yu Xiangda had not been able to let a large number of people from Donghai come over. But at this moment he was so angry that he lost his mind. Bao Sanli was too much of a bully. Yu Xiangda began to ignore the consequences. He immediately picked up the phone and contacted the boss of the Donghai Four Snakes gang, One-Eyed Snake. "Hello, Brother Snake? I'm Yu Xiangda." Yu Xiangda tried to make his tone sound normal. However, his face was already somewhat deformed. "Hehe, is it Brother Da? What's the matter?" One-Eyed Snake asked. "I have thought about it. I agree to your request. Let's cooperate." Yu Xiangda said simply. "Oh. Hehe, Brother Da finally agreed? That's right. If we cooperate, both sides will benefit." One-Eyed Snake smiled and said, "If this is the case, I will bring people over tomorrow. Let's discuss the details again." "Okay, then I will wait for Brother Snake to come," said Yu Xiangda. The Four Snakes gang was a second-rate gang in Donghai City. They mainly looked after the territory and collected protection fees. In Donghai City they had been suppressed by the Red Society, and there was almost no possibility of growth. The boss of the Four Snakes gang, One-Eyed Snake, was unwilling to accept the status quo. He had always wanted to expand the Four Snakes gang. Coincidentally, the underworld of Songjiang City was in chaos. One-Eyed Snake felt that this was a good opportunity for himself, so he contacted Yu Xiangda through his connections. Although Yu Xiangda also wanted to use backup to attack Bao Sanli, he wasn't a fool. He knew that Cobra might not be so kind, so this matter had been delayed. He just accepted some firearms from Cobra and didn't let the people of the Four Snakes gang step into Songjiang City. But now it had reached the point of life and death. Yu Xiangda had been retreating recently. He couldn't watch Bao Sanli kill his way into his territory step by step, so Yu Xiangda finally made up his mind. The underworld of Songjiang City was destined to have a bloody storm. The initiator of this matter, Yang Ming, was lying in bed at the moment. He was really tired today. Chapter 246. Lin Jiyun didn't know that Yang Ming had stuffed a large sum of money into her school bag. This school bag was carried when she was in high school. After she went to university, she didn't need the school bag, so she left it at home. When she went to tutor today, she had to bring a few reference books that she had used before to the child, so she carried the school bag. After returning home, Lin Jiyun didn't open it because she knew that there was nothing important in it. There was only a notebook, so she just hung the school bag on the hanger. The next day, Yang Ming called Sun Jia and wanted to return the car to her. Sun Jia was working in the company, so she told Yang Ming the location of her company and asked Yang Ming to drive there himself. Yang Ming had nothing to do. He was going to Fang Tian's place for training, so he returned the car on the way. When he came to the parking lot downstairs of Sun Jia's company, Yang Ming parked the car and entered the building where the company was located. He went to the elevator and came to the floor where Sun Jia's company was located. When he entered the door, he was called by the receptionist. "Sir, who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for Sun Jia." "Where is she?" asked Yang Ming. "Oh, you're looking for Manager Sun. Do you have an appointment?" asked the receptionist politely. "Appointment? Do I still need an appointment?" Yang Ming didn't expect Sun Jia to be a manager. It seemed that he had underestimated her. However, it was normal when he thought about it. Sun Jia was a girl from a big family. It was normal to manage part of the family business. "Sir, if you want to see the general manager, you need to make an appointment," the receptionist explained. "Then I will call and ask." Yang Ming decided to call Sun Jia. The receptionist smiled and nodded. Yang Ming dialed Sun Jia's phone, but Sun Jia cut off the call. Yang Ming heard the voice on the phone that couldn't be connected temporarily. He couldn't help but frown. Fortunately, Sun Jia called back to Yang Ming not long after. "What are you doing?" "I'm in a meeting. I've arrived at your company." "I'm at the front desk," Yang Ming said. "Okay, you give the phone to the front desk. I will talk to her. You can leave the car keys to her," Sun Jia said. "Wait, by the way, I scraped off a piece of paint on the front of your car yesterday. Is that okay?" Yang Ming asked. "If there is a problem, can you help me fix it?" Sun Jia said in a bad mood. "Oh." Yang Ming answered straightforwardly. "Then why did you ask so much nonsense?" Sun Jia snorted. "Hey, you wait." As Yang Ming spoke, he handed the phone to the receptionist. "You answer the phone." "Oh. Manager Sun, okay, I got it." After the receptionist finished speaking, she returned the phone to Yang Ming and said, Manager Sun said that you want to leave a car key here, right? Yes, this is it. Yang Ming handed the car keys to the front desk manager. When he saw the blue Buick minivan, he nodded with satisfaction and said to himself, "This car is not bad." After starting the car, Sun Jiwei hummed a song and rushed to school. So cool to drive by myself. Just now when I came to my sister's company by taxi, I had to wait for several cars. It was really troublesome. Sun Jiwei turned on the car's stereo. Because this Buick was modified, the sound system was particularly good. Sun Jiwei couldn't help but admire it. It's actually better than my Porsche sports car. Seems that I should modify my car someday. Suddenly he heard a creak sound in front of him. A Jinbei van quickly stopped in front of the Buick. Sun Jiwei had to step on the brakes quickly. "Motherfucker, do you know how to drive?" Sun Jiwei opened the door and jumped out. He yelled at the driver of the Jinbei van, "Do you want to die?" At this moment the door of the Jinbei van suddenly opened. 4 young men with iron rods jumped out from inside. The leader pointed at Sun Jiwei and said, "Kill him." "What are you doing?" Sun Jiwei's words hadn't finished yet and the iron rods were on him. How could Sun Jiwei be an opponent of iron rods? Not to mention it was 4 iron rods. It didn't take long for him to be beaten to the ground. However, these people obviously didn't want to give up so easily. They smashed Sun Jiwei again. Until the passers-by called the police, the leader said, "Everyone retreat." As soon as his voice fell, the others immediately stopped fighting, got on the Jinbei van and then left. Originally, a kind passerby was going to remember the license plate of the Jinbei van, but he didn't expect that the license plate of the Jinbei van had already been removed. There was nothing on the car. "Big brother, did we just hit the kid from yesterday? Why doesn't it look like it?" The one who spoke was the black windbreaker who was hit by the trunk lid of the car yesterday. It was so dark last night. Who could see clearly? But the license plate must be this. Besides, I have seen it. The front of his car was injured by us yesterday. I don't think it should be wrong. This person who spoke was naturally the jacket from yesterday. That's good. Damn, our luck is really good. We met him as soon as we came out. I thought we would have to look for him for a while. The black windbreaker smiled proudly. It is estimated that this kid won't be able to get out of bed for 10 days or half a month. Serves him right. Who told him to be pretentious last night? The jacket nodded. On this side, Sun Jiwei was unlucky. He didn't expect that he would be beaten for no reason. I haven't seen the group of people who beat me, let alone have any grievances with them. What is the reason? If you want to talk about grievances, it is that I just scolded them. Is it because I scolded them? The only reason Sun Jiwei could think of was this. Otherwise, why would these people beat me? Chapter 247. Originally, Sun Jiwei wanted to tell his sister to help find the culprit. However, after thinking about it, it seemed that he was beaten because he acted like a badass. If he told Sun Jia about this, she probably wouldn't let him drive in the future. Thinking about this, Sun Jiwei could only swallow his bitterness. What bad luck. Must be because I saw Yang Ming, the god of plague. Whenever I meet him, nothing good will happen. Sun Jiwei thought bitterly. When the police asked him if he wanted to file a case, Sun Jiwei shook his head helplessly. I can't let my sister know about this. When the police saw that the person involved didn't have any requests, they didn't bother. Although Sun Jiwei seemed to be seriously injured, the people who beat him seemed to be experienced. They specifically picked the places with the thickest flesh and didn't hurt the muscles and bones. Stealing was one of the compulsory courses for an assassin. Fong Tian now began to conduct surprise training for Yang Ming in this aspect. In many cases, an assassin needed to steal a car to commit a crime, open the anti-theft door to sneak into a room, and steal important clues from other people. Therefore, being an assassin was the most extensive and profound knowledge. Not only did it require deep research on martial arts and medicine, but it also involved various professions in society. No one could guarantee what kind of identity they would use to approach the target when they were on a mission. To become a powerful assassin, it could be done in a few months. However, becoming a qualified assassin wasn't something that could be done overnight. Just like Yang Ming now, killing an ordinary person wasn't a problem. However, if the person was a heavily protected person, it would be difficult. Therefore, it was necessary to constantly improve one's ability. Fong Tian had passed most of the assassin's skills on stealing to Dong Jun. Therefore, in many cases, Dong Jun, the senior apprentice, acted as a master and taught Yang Ming knowledge in this area. In addition to Dong Jun's many years of practical experience, Yang Ming's progress was very fast. On Sunday afternoon, Yang Ming received a call from Lu Weishan. He said that he had something to discuss with Yang Ming and asked him to come over. Since Lan Ling left, Yang Ming hadn't been to the family building of Songjiang Industry University for a long time. He didn't want to be reminded of the past. As a result, he hadn't seen Lu Weishan for quite some time. Yang Ming was a little ashamed. He had been busy with the underworld and assassin training recently, so he had neglected his relationship with Lu Weishan. Thinking about how Lu Weishan treated him so well, Yang Ming decided that he would visit Lu Weishan more often in the future. After all, he lived nearby. In the afternoon, Yang Ming came to the family area of Songjiang Industry University and showed the pass to the security guard. The security guard let Yang Ming enter the community. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly. Ever since Lan Ling left, he hadn't used this pass. Looking back at the familiar building, Yang Ming felt a little sad. Lan Ling, I wonder if you're okay? Yang Ming let out a long sigh. He didn't return to Lan Ling's house. Instead, he went straight to Lu Weishan's house. Lu Weishan's wife opened the door for Yang Ming. It's Yang Ming. Come in quickly. My old man and I were just talking about why you haven't come over recently. We all miss you. You can stay for dinner tonight. Qing will come too. Qing? Yang Ming was stunned. He thought that she might be talking about Xiaoqing. Yang Ming said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, Aunt Chu. I was quite busy at school during this period, so I didn't come over. I know. You just started your first year. The curriculum is quite tight. There are also a lot of activities after school. But if you are free on the weekend, come over for dinner. Just like today, Sunday. You can go back to school after dinner. Lu Weishan's wife was called Chu Huifeng. She nagged at Yang Ming. I got it, Aunt Chu. If I am free, I will come over often. Yang Ming nodded and promised. Yang Ming knew that Aunt Chu's life was very lonely after her son went missing. The house was quite empty, so she liked young people like Yang Ming to come over often. Hearing Yang Ming's affirmative answer, Aunt Chu's face showed a gratified smile. Go to the study room. My family's old Lu is working on the imperial jade that you gave him. Okay, Aunt Chu. Then you do your work. I will go and find Uncle Lu. Yang Ming nodded. I will go and prepare the meal. When people are old, what they look forward to the most is a family reunion dinner on the weekend. Qing comes every week. Yang Ming, you promised me. In the future, I will prepare a meal for one more person. If you don't come, I will have to throw it away. Aunt Chu said with a smile. I got it, Aunt Chu. If there is nothing, I will come in the future. Yang Ming promised with a smile. Yang Ming had been here a few times. Naturally, he knew the location of the study room. When he came to the door of the study room, Yang Ming knocked on the door. Lu Weishan's voice came from inside. Who is it? Is it Qing or Yang Ming? Come in quickly. The door isn't locked. Uncle Lu, it's me. Yang Ming opened the door and walked into the study room. Yang Ming, come and sit. Lu Weishan pointed at the sofa beside him and said happily. Yang Ming didn't refuse and sat beside Lu Weishan. Yang Ming, look at this. Lu Weishan pointed at an imperial jade sculpture on the table and said, I just finished your piece of imperial jade. Yang Ming looked at the direction of Lu Weishan's finger. He saw 4 horses galloping on the table. Each horse's expression and posture were different. The hair on the horse was also exquisite. It was the best sculpture art. On the base of the sculpture there was a small square seal. The words Lu Weishan sculpture were written on it. Since Lu Weishan's debut, there was only a total of 9 pieces of art that had his name engraved on them. These 9 pieces of art were all given to his best friends. Only 1 or 2 pieces were taken out for auction by the descendants of the owner. The rest of the pieces were not circulated in the market. Lu Weishan's name was the same as Lu Weishan's. Since his debut, there were only a total of 9 pieces of art that were engraved with his name. And now Lu Weishan was undoubtedly trying to increase the value of this sculpture. It's so beautiful. Yang Ming couldn't help but praise from the bottom of his heart. No wonder Lu Weishan's work was sought after by so many people. This was simply a work of art. I'm going to send it to the Asian International Auction in Hong Kong. All the proceeds will be left to you. Lu Weishan said faintly. Although Lu Weishan's calm tone seemed to be saying something very normal in Yang Ming's ears, It was no doubt like a heavy bomb. Like thunder, it made Yang Ming a little breathless. Uncle Lu, how can you do this? This was originally yours. We had an agreement. Lu Weishan smiled at Yang Ming. He admired Yang Ming the most. This young man was affectionate and righteous. He wasn't greedy for money. That was why Lu Weishan liked him so much. But such an excellent piece of art. Wouldn't it be a pity to sell it? Yang Ming looked at the 4 horses galloping on the table and said with some reluctance, "It's just an old man who has nothing to do to entertain himself. Its value is purely made up by people outside. It's worthless to me." Lu Weishan shook his head. "Sell it. It's best if you can exchange it for some money. What does an old man like me need money for?" Since Lu Weishan had put it this way, Yang Ming didn't want to reject anymore. Thus he nodded and said, "All right, I'll follow Uncle Lu's arrangements." "That's right." Lu Weishan chuckled. "As for those scraps, I have carved them into 6 small pieces of art according to their respective shapes. There's a ring, a jade pendant, and an ink stone. Let's put these things together in the auction." "Uncle Lu, I'll leave it to you," Yang Ming said with some joy. He didn't expect Uncle Lu to be able to use the scraps to make something. Many people didn't dare to throw off the entire piece of jade because they were afraid that if they weren't careful enough, they would ruin the entire piece of jade. They usually used the grinding method to carve. The scraps could only be sold as jade powder. No matter how good the jade powder was, it was still trash without any value. He didn't expect Lu Weishan to be so accurate. "Are you interested in going to the auction?" Lu Weishan asked again. "Auction? You're talking about the international auction in Hong Kong?" Yang Ming asked. "Yes, the 27th of this month is Thanksgiving Day. Hong Kong is holding an international auction on that day. If you're interested, you can go with me." Lu Weishan invited. Lu Weishan was invited to be the chief jade appraiser of this auction. Because it was an invitation from a good academic friend, Lu Weishan couldn't reject it. Coincidentally, the jade for Yang Ming was also going to be auctioned, so he agreed. But if he went alone, it wouldn't be interesting. Lu Weishan was prepared to bring his wife along and treat it as a vacation. If Yang Ming went, it would be more lively. Chapter 248. Yang Ming thought about it. Anyway, he had nothing to do. It was good to go and experience it, but he was a little embarrassed. He was afraid of troubling Lu Weishan, so he said, "If I go, it won't affect you, right? Besides, my school doesn't have a holiday." "It's okay. I will bring your Aunt Chu. If Ching Ching is free, she will follow. As for your school, Ching Ching also told me. You don't seem to be so diligent, right?" Lu Weishan smiled. Yang Ming didn't expect Lu Weishan to have inquired about his details. He couldn't help but sweat. Then Uncle Lu, you can decide." "Hey. As for Hong Kong, I will ask them to send an invitation. Otherwise, our Songjiang is not a provincial capital city. It will be troublesome to apply for a Hong Kong and Macau pass." Lu Weishan nodded and said. In the evening, Yang Ming saw Xiaoqing. At this moment, the previous misunderstanding between the two people had disappeared. Xiaoqing's concern for Yang Ming was always out of the concern of a big sister. "Yang Ming, Xie Yongxiang told me about your things." Xiaoqing looked at Yang Ming with a smile. "I heard that you two have made a pact?" Yang Ming smiled awkwardly. He thought this Xie Yongxiang is really talkative. Is he trying to please Xiaoqing? "Sister Qing, you also know that I am not the kind of student who studies peacefully. Moreover, there are more messy things usually." Yang Ming scratched his head and said, "You have a lot of things usually? I think you are dating your little girlfriend, right?" Xiaoqing joked. "Right, why haven't I seen your little girlfriend for a long time?" "Yang Ming, while Mom and Dad are preparing dinner, you tell me. What is going on between you and Lan Ling? You are not a lolicon, right? I think she is still underage." When Lan Ling was mentioned, Yang Ming couldn't help but look gloomy. He said with some sadness, she had something to do at home, so she went back to her hometown. He naturally wouldn't tell Xiaoqing too much in detail. After all, not everyone could understand voodoo. Could it be that her secret was exposed and she was imprisoned by her family? Xiaoqing didn't notice Yang Ming's expression, so she made a joke. "Please, Sister Qing. She just looks a little young. She's actually already 16 years old." Yang Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. "She does have something to do and has to leave for a while. I don't know when she will be back." "It can't be." Xiaoqing also realized that Yang Ming's tone was a bit gloomy at this moment, so she comforted, "It's okay. I can see that Lan Ling likes you so much. He will definitely come back. Yang Ming nodded. He didn't believe that Lan Ling would just leave like that. By the way, tell me what's going on with Chen Mengyan. Xiao Qing noticed that Yang Ming's mood wasn't very good, so she took the initiative to change the topic. Remember, isn't she your girlfriend? How did it change to Lan Ling? Godmother, Yang Ming said without thinking. Yang Ming knew how Aunt Chu and Uncle Lu treated him, so he didn't force himself to call her godmother. Godmother, you can call me Big Ming in the future. My parents call me that. I will call you Big Ming. Chu Huifang heard that she was treated the same as Yang Ming's biological parents. She was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. Big Ming, this is a red packet from Godmother. As she said this, Chu Huifang took out a big red packet from her pocket and handed it to Yang Ming. This? Yang Ming was stunned. Can't be right? Why did she prepare a red packet? Yang Ming wasn't stupid. He hesitated for a while and understood the key of the matter. Chu Huifang and Lu Weishan must have planned this beforehand. Otherwise, how could they take out a red packet at any time? It seems that they colluded to put on a show. Yang Ming raised his head and looked at Godfather Lu Weishan. He saw that Lu Weishan's expression was a little awkward. He didn't expect his wife to prepare a red packet. He blushed and said awkwardly, Big Ming, this matter was indeed discussed by me and Godmother for a long time. But just now it was really true. It was a touching scene. However, Yang Ming didn't feel that he was being schemed. He could see that Lu Weishan and Chu Huifang were really good to him. So Yang Ming stood up and took the red packet from Chu Huifang's hand. He smiled and said, Thank you, Godmother. Chu Huifang was blinded by happiness. She had prepared a red packet long ago, but she wanted to find a chance to give it to Yang Ming after the meal. But just now she was excited and took it out. After taking it out, she regretted it. If she did this, would it cause any conflict with Yang Ming? Now that she saw that Yang Ming didn't care, she was relieved. What are you thanking me for? Of course, I have to take the red packet. When the red packet was in his hand, Yang Ming slightly weighed it. It was actually very heavy. It was almost 10,000 yuan. However, Yang Ming still put it in his pocket. Because Chu Huifang was looking at it eagerly. If he declined again, she would probably think too much. Yang Ming understood his godmother's current thoughts. Her biological son disappeared. This pain was very difficult to forget. Now that she recognized Yang Ming as her son, she wouldn't want any more mishaps. Okay, let's eat. Xiao Qing saw that everyone was staring at each other, so she quickly mediated. Qing Qing, you are now Big Ming's sister. You have to take care of your brother in the future. Chu Huifang smiled. Godmother, Sister Qing used to take care of me. Yang Ming said quickly, the food is going to be cold. Let's eat first. After the meal, Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. Lu Weishan and Chu Huifang both looked at him with a smile, but Yang Ming could also understand their feelings at the moment, so he also let go of his stomach and ate a big meal. If he acted politely, they would feel unhappy instead. Sure enough, seeing Yang Ming's easygoing appearance, Chu Huifang was very happy. Do you still want to eat? Do you want to get another bowl? I still want to eat, but I don't want to die. Yang Ming patted his belly. I'm so full that I can't walk. Chapter 249. Xiao Qing lived in the university's single apartment. Generally, the university was very rich, and the single teachers would provide a free apartment to live in. Xiao Qing lived there. Yang Ming and Xiao Qing left Lu Weishan's house together. Xiao Qing returned to the apartment, and Yang Ming returned to the university's dormitory. Yang Ming, come and see Mom and Dad often in the future. Xiao Qing didn't have parents since she was a child, so it wasn't inappropriate to call Lu Weishan and Chu Huifang Mom and Dad. But Yang Ming was different. In order to distinguish himself from his parents, he could only call them Godfather and Godmother. But even so, Lu Weishan and Chu Huifang were very excited today. On the way, Yang Ming called his parents and told them that Lu Weishan and Chu Huifang recognized him as their godson. Yang Ming's parents heard that Lu Weishan was also a professor at Songjiang Industry University, and they approved of this. After all, they were born in a worker's family. It was a happy thing for their son to be recognized by an intellectual. Yang Ming heard that his parents didn't have any resistance or resentment toward this matter, so he was relieved. In fact, Yang Dehai and Mother Yang were very open-minded people. They didn't think that there was anything wrong with this. They also told Yang Ming that in school he shouldn't act recklessly just because he was Professor Lu's godson. Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Act recklessly? Am I that kind of person? It's good that others don't harass me. Back in the dormitory, Yang Ming found that Zhang Bin and Tian Donghua weren't there. He couldn't help but scold these two sluts. Zhang Bin must have gone to the hotel with Xiao Sisi. As for Tian Donghua, he seemed to say that he was going to find Miss. I don't know if it's true or not. Lan Ling was gone and Qin Mengyan was in a cold war with him. Yang Ming was left alone. In desperation, he had to turn on the computer and go online. Yang Ming opened QQ to see if anyone had left him a message recently. Because of Qin Mengyan's matter, Yang Ming didn't use QQ much. Lan Ling's avatar was still gray and did not flicker at all. It seemed that she really didn't have any communication tools with her. Otherwise, she would have contacted him. As for Qin Mengyan's profile picture, it was also gray. Yang Ming clicked on her profile picture. At this time, the QQ server automatically updated her information. Her original Xiao Yan name was actually changed to "There's no true love in this world." Yang Ming was stunned. Damn, this name is quite matching with mine. Could it be a legendary couple's name? However, Yang Ming was just fantasizing about it. He wasn't stupid enough to believe it. It seemed that Qin Mengyan changed her name because she was sad. Yang Ming didn't dare to talk to her casually. He had to turn off QQ. There was a saying, cleverness may be the victim of cleverness. Yang Ming was just thinking too much. In fact, Qin Mengyan really saw that Yang Ming's name was "There's no true love in this world," so she changed her name to "There's no true love in this world." On the one hand, Qin Mengyan was really annoyed by Yang Ming's behavior. Even if you and Lan Ling were under some kind of voodoo, you should tell me the truth, right? No matter what, you were the one who got together with me first. When we were in high school, I had already been intimate with him in the cinema, so it wasn't too much to say that I was his #1 girlfriend. In a novel that was a legitimate first female lead. Why did you hide it from me for so long? Also, the matter of Lin Jiun, since it happened in high school, you should tell me the truth. Am I, Qin Mengyan, such a calculative person? Since you were framed, I won't blame you too much. But you actually hid it from me for so long? What kind of position did you put me in your heart? Qin Mengyan thought very resentfully. During this time, Qin Mengyan also looked up a lot of information about voodoo through the internet. Especially after reading a novel by Wesley that described voodoo, she had a certain understanding of this knowledge. If it was really like what Yang Ming said, then it was really a bit difficult to deal with. Although Qin Mengyan wasn't a conservative person, she was still a traditional person. When she made up her mind to be with Yang Ming, she decided to be with him for the rest of her life. She never thought that they would break up in the future. She was the kind of person who wouldn't change her mind once she made up her mind. But now the situation had changed. Even if she made up her mind to be with Yang Ming, she wouldn't allow him to have multiple wives and concubines. It was a new era and a new society. Qin Mengyan couldn't accept Yang Ming's current situation in such a short period of time. But not accepting it didn't mean that the truth would change. Just like what Yang Ming said, if he left her, the voodoo would take effect. Even if Qin Mengyan was jealous, she definitely wouldn't joke about her lover's life. When the time came, he would be dead. What was there to fight about? So now Qin Mengyan was very conflicted. This was a dead knot that she couldn't figure out at all. She really couldn't bear to give up on Yang Ming. This was the only man in her life that she loved. She didn't want to give up just like that. But if she didn't give up, would she have to accept the absurd fact that he had other women outside? For this fickle man, Qin Mengyan really couldn't make a decision. There was no other way. She could only drag it out first. But Qin Mengyan was a little scared now. Although she didn't decide to accept Yang Ming, she was afraid that this guy would do something wrong to her if she didn't respond to Yang Ming for such a long time. So, Qin Mengyan played a little trick. She changed her QQ name to "There's no true love in this world," which was similar to Yang Ming's. This was to hint to Yang Ming that she still had him in her heart. So, a simple matter was complicated by Yang Ming. He couldn't see through Qin Mengyan's thoughts. Is diving fun? Wild female teacher suddenly sent a message. Yang Ming opened it and couldn't help but be shocked. How did you know that I was invisible? Yang Ming was surprised and returned a message to wild female teacher. I used a plugin that shows the IP and invisible state, so I saw that you were online, said wild female teacher. Oh, so that's the case. Yang Ming didn't feel surprised. There were a lot of third-party software now. Right, you said last time that you and your girlfriend were at odds. What happened? Have you reconciled? Asked wild female teacher. Not yet. Things are very complicated. Yang Ming sent a depressed expression over. Right, I told you last time. I am going to be with him soon. Wild female teacher said. Then congratulations to you. Yang Ming sent a flower over. The two were good friends. Although Yang Ming was in a bad mood, he didn't want to affect others' mood. Hee hee. Wild female teacher smiled and sent a shy smiley face. Play fight the landlord with me? I will become a student in a few days. I don't think I have much time to play online games. Wild female teacher said. Become a student? Then won't you change your name to Wild Student? Yang Ming didn't ask for the reason. I have this idea. Come to Northeast Netcom's XX server, XX room, XX table. I will wait for you there. Wild female teacher instructed. Yang Ming logged into the QQ game and found the room that wild female teacher mentioned. He played Fight the Landlord with her. I'm a superstar. I don't know what I'm busy with. I haven't contacted Yang Ming for a long time. However, the relationship between the two people was a simple friendship. When they met, they would talk to each other. If they didn't meet, they wouldn't miss each other. This was a friend in the virtual world. The next day, Lu Weishan called. Big Ming, the invitation from Hong Kong is done. Now it is with me. It is a fax. I will send a student to send it to you. Where are you? I am in the dormitory now. Male dormitory block C. Ask him to call me when he arrives. Yang Ming said. You take this invitation to the city police station and find a police officer surnamed Chen. He was my former student. I have already talked to him. It should be faster to let him take you there. Otherwise, you don't know what materials to prepare. Lu Weishan said. You write down his office phone number. It is 8XXX0110. Just say that you are my godson. Hey godfather. I got it. Yang Ming found a piece of paper and wrote down the phone number. Not long after, a student called Yang Ming and said that Professor Lu sent him to deliver the documents. Yang Ming went downstairs. At the entrance of the dormitory, he saw a male student with glasses holding a portfolio. Yang Ming actually saw him before. Moreover, it was on the first day of school. It seemed that the person Lu Weishan was talking about was him. Zhang Weihan. Yang Ming walked over and greeted him. You are. Zhang Weihan had obviously forgotten about Yang Ming. Every day he sent out at least 8 business cards. Naturally, he wouldn't remember Yang Ming, who he only met once. Chapter 250. I am Yang Ming. Did you forget that on the first day of school, you helped me find the computer science building? Yang Ming said with a smile. You are Yang Ming. Zhang Weihan was stunned and said, I remember now. At that time I met a pretty girl. You called her a prostitute. Yang Ming sweated. What do you mean I called her? I heard it from you. However, Yang Ming wouldn't say such offensive words. Yeah, you remember now? I remember now. Zhang Weihan nodded. Ah, so you are Professor Lu's godson. Sorry for the disrespect. Hee hee. Yang Ming smiled and answered his words. Right, the thing that Godfather asked you to give me is. It is here. Look at me. I was so busy talking that I forgot about it. Zhang Weihan smiled embarrassedly. It's okay. I am sorry to trouble you to come so far to give it to me. Yang Ming thanked him. It's no trouble. Right, Yang Ming, I want to apply for Professor Lu's postgraduate program. Can you help me say a few words? Zhang Weihan said very flatteringly. Postgraduate program? Isn't Professor Lu in the history department? You are studying computer science. This major doesn't suit you, right? Yang Ming said curiously. Besides, postgraduate and doctorate are different. You can just take the exam directly. Do you need to find someone? Hey, you don't know. Professor Lu's postgraduate program is very popular. Zhang Weihan said, there are several postgraduate supervisors in the history department, but everyone wants to be Professor Lu's student. If you do well, you will be invited to be an appraiser by the major auction houses and jewelry stores. It won't be a problem to earn tens of thousands of yuan a month. Yang Ming really didn't expect there to be such a thing. However, Lu Weishan's reputation in the Jewelry Appraisal Association was very popular. It was normal for his students to be popular. However, this guy's major span was too big, right? Isn't computer science very popular? It is said that after graduating from university, many people go to the South and Dalian to develop their career. Their monthly salary is not low. Yang Ming asked. How, brother, you don't know? Computer science seems to be popular now, but in fact it's already saturated. When other companies were recruiting, they weren't looking at academic qualifications but ability. Don't you see that many of our computer science students go to some social schools to learn Java or C++ after graduation? The knowledge in university was simply not enough. It's not that there aren't those who can earn more than 10,000 a month, but there are very few of them. They are all ruthless people. Zhang Weihan shook his head with a wry smile. Look at me, your brother. I'm always busy with the matters of the student union and earn some extra income. Where would I find the time to really study? It's already past the 80s and 90s, where as long as you're a university student, you'll be in high demand. Had he heard it before? Yang Ming went to the second floor and found room 206. Then he knocked on the door. Please come in. As he said this, the door of room 206 was opened. A man came out. Uncle Qin. Yang Ming was stunned. Yang Ming? Qin Fei was also stunned. You are Police Officer Qin? Yang Ming was surprised. It was such a coincidence. It turned out that the police officer Qin that his godfather talked about was Qin Fei. Little brat, aren't you asking nonsense? My surname is Qin. If I am not Police Officer Qin, should I be Police Officer Wang or Police Officer Zhang? Qin Fei patted Yang Ming's back. I am just surprised. Yang Ming shook his head and smiled. Why? Are you going to Hong Kong for a trip? Qin Fei took the portfolio in Yang Ming's hand and asked. What trip? I am going to participate in an auction with my godfather. Yang Ming said. He is just bringing me to see the market. Xia Shui, come here. Qin Fei waved to Xia Shui. You go to the immigration department and ask what is the procedure for the Hong Kong and Macau pass. Yes, Captain Qin. A beautiful policewoman nodded to Qin Fei. Wasn't she the one who caught Yang Ming for prostitution last time? When he saw Xia Shui, Yang Ming was still a little embarrassed. When he peed last time, she saw his private part. It was really embarrassing. When Xia Shui saw Yang Ming, she was also a little embarrassed. When she saw Yang Ming looking straight at her, she couldn't help but glare at Yang Ming. Then she turned and left the room. How is it? Are you busy with your studies? While Xia Shui went out to ask, Qin Fei and Yang Ming chatted. It's okay. It's much easier than when I was in high school. Yang Ming smiled. That's right. When you go to university, it's not a big deal. Qin Fei nodded. Right, the girl you mentioned before, did you get her? Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Qin Fei to be so gossipy and inquire about this kind of thing. So he said awkwardly, it's okay. What do you mean by okay? Asked Qin Fei. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to be perfunctory. He thought that Qin Fei wouldn't be entangled in this issue, but he didn't expect Qin Fei to not let him go. In desperation, Yang Ming had to say, she ignored me. I can't do anything about it. Ignored you? Qin Fei frowned. When his daughter came home yesterday, Qin Fei naturally saw it. He asked her, but she didn't want to say. Qin Fei was also an experienced person. Naturally, he knew if his daughter had a relationship problem. Today when he saw Yang Ming, of course he had to ask clearly. Yeah. Yang Ming nodded. Uncle Qin, let's not talk about these unpleasant things. That's Xia Shui. Does she have a prejudice against me? You don't have to care about her first. Qin Fei waved his hand. First tell me about your friend. Why did she ignore you? Did you make her unhappy? Sort of. Yang Ming was really dumbfounded. Chapter 251. It didn't take long for Xia Shui to come back. She said to Qin Fei, Captain Qin, I just asked. He can sign the S sign in this situation. Qin Fei didn't understand this very well, so he said to Xia Shui, okay, you take Yang Ming to do it. Yang Ming didn't know the specific procedures of the S sign, but since Xia Shui said it, there shouldn't be a problem. So he got up and said, then I'll have to trouble Sister Xia Shui. Who's your sister? Xia Shui glared at Yang Ming angrily. Can't be, right? Could it be that you are already very old and you have to call me auntie or aunt? Yang Ming pretended to be surprised. Go to hell. Xia Shui was furious. She raised her leg and wanted to kick Yang Ming, but she saw Qin Fei looking at her. Xia Shui didn't know what to do. She retracted her leg and whispered, let's wait and see. Hee. Yang Ming didn't care and smiled. I didn't do anything wrong now. I'm not afraid of her. Yang Ming followed Xia Shui out of the office. When they were in the corridor, Xia Shui let Yang Ming walk in front. You go first. I will tell you how to go. Yang Ming nodded after listening. He walked to the front quietly, but he was secretly alert. He wasn't familiar with the police station. Logically, Xia Shui should be leading him in front, but Xia Shui let him walk in front. It seemed very unreasonable. So Yang Ming had reason to think that Xia Shui was plotting something. Sure enough, after 2 steps, Yang Ming felt a sudden wind behind him. Yang Ming snorted slightly. It seemed that Xia Shui really wanted to do something. However, after Fang Tian's long-term training, Yang Ming's reaction ability and body speed had been significantly improved. When he felt the wind behind him, Yang Ming reached out and grabbed behind him. Pak Xia Shui's calf was caught by Yang Ming. Xia Shui was shocked. She wanted to pull her leg out, but Yang Ming's strength was amazing. Xia Shui moved twice, but it was completely useless. Let go. Xia Shui shouted in exasperation. Yang Ming turned around with a grin. Looking at the blushing Xia Shui, he couldn't help but feel happy in his heart. Ah, little girl, you actually sneak attacked me. Now you're going to suffer, right? What are you looking at? Still not letting go of me? Xia Shui said angrily. Sister Xia Shui, are you mistaken? After you kicked me, you let me go just like that? Yang Ming pretended to be very innocent as he looked at Xia Shui. I didn't kick him. Xia Shui said bitterly. She never thought that Yang Ming would be so lucky to be able to grab her leg. Then you still failed to kick me. It's also a crime. Yang Ming said proudly, you're a police officer, don't tell me you don't know? Attempted robbery is also a crime. You. Xia Shui was furious. I kicked you. How can it be compared to robbery? The police uncle taught us that many big thieves started from stealing a pencil when they were young. Who is willing to look at you? Xia Shui said. You didn't want to look, but you looked twice. Yang Ming was referring to the urine test. Who knew that you actually peed in public? Xia Shui said anxiously. At this moment, 2 young policemen passed by. When they saw Xia Shui and Yang Ming, they couldn't help but be stunned. Policeman A said to Policeman B, isn't that Xia Shui from the criminal investigation team? Sure enough, it's her. The violent police flower. I heard that she has serious violent tendencies. Xiao Zhou from the XX department pursued her. As a result, he was slapped twice. Policeman B nodded and said, who is that man? So ruthless? He actually subdued the violent police flower? Policeman A was surprised. I don't know, but things in this world are like this. Everything has its vanquisher. Policeman B said, look at the man's impatient expression. It must be that the violent police flower didn't succeed in pursuing him. She wanted to use violence, but she was subdued. Makes sense. Policeman A nodded. At first I wanted to pursue her. Then Xiao Zhou was defeated, so I quickly left. I didn't expect her to be defeated. That's right. This is big news. I have to tell Xiao Zhou. He will definitely be happy. Policeman B said. Although the voices of the 2 oncoming policemen weren't loud, it was just enough to be heard by Yang Ming and Xia Shui. Because Xia Shui's back was facing them, she couldn't see the situation behind her. Until the 2 people passed by her, Xia Shui glared fiercely at the 2 guys who were making sarcastic remarks. Policeman A was shocked and quickly said, it's a misunderstanding. You guys chat. I'll go first. Policeman B was so scared that he didn't even say anything. He lowered his head and disappeared quickly. Xia Shui was about to explode. These 2 gossipy men. Maybe they would go back and spread today's scene. The culprit who caused all of this was Yang Ming. Thinking of this, Xia Shui immediately went berserk. She couldn't care much anymore. She steeled her heart and leaned her whole body toward Yang Ming. Yang Ming was also shocked. What is this? Could it be that she wants to die together? Just as he wanted to get rid of Xia Shui, the woman's whole body had already leaned toward him. Xia Shui had already thrown caution to the wind. She stood on the ground and exerted force. Her body flew into the air and smashed toward Yang Ming. Quang dang, a loud sound was heard. Xia Shui pushed Yang Ming down. Xia Shui also fell onto Yang Ming's body because of the momentum. Qin Fei waited for a long time, but Yang Ming and Xia Shui didn't come back. The Immigration Administration Department called and asked Qin Fei why they weren't there yet. It was almost lunch break. If they didn't come over, they would have to wait until the afternoon. Qin Fei was a bit puzzled. Where did these 2 people go? It couldn't be helped. Qin Fei had to go out and look for them personally. Just as he walked out of the office and into the corridor, Qin Fei saw a scene that surprised him. Xia Shui was lying on Yang Ming's body at this moment. You're tuning in to the Biao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.